The colony of Epsilon 9 gleamed under twin suns, a testament to humanity's peaceful expansion among the stars. Unlike military outposts or corporate mining facilities, Epsilon 9 had been designed as a genuine community where humans and aliens could live and work together. Crystal domes protected lush gardens where plants from a dozen worlds grew side by side, much like the beings who tended them. Among the colony's most respected residents were Dr. Taeho Park and Dr. G.A. Park, xenobiologists whose research on cross-species communication had helped forge alliances across 3 sectors. Their daughter Hannah had been born on Epsilon 9 8 years ago, the colony's first human child. Hannah skipped through the community garden, her dark hair bouncing as she checked on her favorite plants. She carried a small notebook where she drew each new species she encountered, both plant and sentient. The other colonists smiled as she passed. Hannah had become something of a mascot for the settlement, embodying the curiosity and openness they hoped would define humanity's place among the stars. "Good morning, Director Song," Hannah called out, waving at the colony administrator who was reviewing reports on his tablet. Director Song looked up and returned her wave. "Good morning, Hannah. Are you ready for the visitors today?" "I made special pictures for them," she replied, holding up her notebook. The Thracian delegation was arriving that afternoon, tall, angular beings with iridescent scales and formal manners. Their empire controlled significant trade routes, and this visit marked the first time they had shown interest in a human settlement. Everyone understood the importance of making a good impression. As the Thracian shuttle descended toward the landing pad, colonists gathered to welcome them. Hannah stood between her parents, wearing her best blue dress and clutching her notebook of drawings. Dr. G.A. Park knelt beside her daughter. "Remember what we discussed about Thracian customs," she said quietly. "They value personal space and speak very precisely." Hannah nodded seriously. "No hugs, and think before speaking." The shuttle's doors opened with a soft hiss. 5 Thracian officials emerged, their scales catching the sunlight in rainbow patterns. They moved with deliberate grace, each step measured and precise. The tallest among them, wearing elaborate shoulder decorations that marked him as their leader, approached Director Song. "We extend appropriate greetings to the human settlement designation Epsilon 9, the Thracian leader said, making a formal gesture with his long fingers. Director Song replied with the proper response, a slight bow with open palms. The welcome ceremony proceeded according to plan, with formal introductions and symbolic exchanges of gifts. Then came the cultural demonstration. Humans performed traditional dances while the Thracian watched with polite interest. When their turn arrived, the visitors produced crystalline instruments that created haunting, mathematical melodies. Hannah was entranced. When the music ended, she forgot the careful instructions and rushed forward, her notebook extended. "This is for you," she said to the Thracian leader, offering one of her drawings, a careful rendering of Thracian and humans standing together beneath Epsilon 9's twin suns. The Thracian leader stiffened. In their culture, approaching a high official without permission was deeply inappropriate. A security officer, misinterpreting the child's movement as a potential threat, reached for his weapon. Dr. Taeho Park saw the motion and lunged forward. "Hannah!" Everything happened in seconds. The Thracian security officer raised his energy weapon. A human guard reacted by drawing his own. Someone shouted. A Thracian diplomat made a sudden gesture that was misunderstood. Energy pulses flashed across the plaza. When the chaos subsided, tiny Hannah Park lay crumpled on the ground, her notebook fallen open beside her. A single energy pulse had caught her directly in the chest. Dr. G.A. cradled her daughter, medical team rushing forward, but the child's eyes remained fixed and empty. The Thracian delegation departed immediately, calling the incident an unfortunate accident during a security misunderstanding. They offered token compensation according to their customs, resources equivalent to what they considered appropriate for a non-productive colony member. That night, as Epsilon 9's residents gathered in stunned mourning, Director Song transmitted the news to Earth. His hands shook as he recorded the message, regret to inform Earth Command that human child Hannah Park, age 8, died today during diplomatic incident with Thracian Empire representatives. Request guidance. The response came faster than anyone expected, suggesting it hadn't gone through normal diplomatic channels. Just 3 words that would soon echo across the galaxy. We are coming. In the Galactic Council chambers, the incident was noted as a minor diplomatic setback. The human representatives said little during the session, their usual active participation replaced by silent observation. None of the council species understood yet what the death of a single human child would unleash. For decades, Earth had presented itself to the galactic community as a planet of traders, scientists, and artists. The ships that left its orbit carried medical supplies, research equipment, and cultural artifacts. Other species saw humans as clever but ultimately harmless newcomers to the stars. This image was carefully crafted. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in an installation unknown even to most Earth governments, Admiral Minho Lee stood in the command center of humanity's best-kept secret. Around him, officers worked at consoles as dormant systems awakened for the first time since their creation. Status updates flashed across screens in green text: Guardian Fleet. Activation sequence initiated. How soon can we launch? The Admiral asked, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. First wave ready in 6 hours, Commander Sujin responded. Full fleet operational within 24. Admiral Lee nodded, studying the main display showing hundreds of vessel signatures. The Guardian fleet had been built in secret over 3 generations, hidden in underwater bases and lunar shadow facilities. While humanity publicly developed modest ships with conventional technology, these vessels incorporated innovation centuries ahead of what they had shared with other species. Show me the child, he said quietly. A hologram appeared at the center of the room, Hannah Park's official colony photograph. She smiled brightly, missing one front tooth, her hair in neat braids. We hoped this day would never come, Admiral Lee said to the officers gathered around him. We built this fleet not because we wanted war, but because we remembered our history. We know what we are capable of, both the good and the terrible. The officers nodded solemnly. Every member of the Guardian fleet had been chosen not just for skill but for their commitment to peace, warriors who understood the weight of their weapons and hoped never to use them. In orbit, ordinary Earth vessels suddenly changed course, docking with hidden stations that had masqueraded as asteroid monitoring outposts. Panels slid away, revealing advanced weapons systems and shield generators. Ships that the galactic community had classified as simple trade vessels were, in reality, the outer shell of something far more formidable. At the United Earth Council emergency session, representatives from all continents gathered to receive briefings. The Guardian fleet had been Earth's most closely guarded secret, known only to a select few in each generation of leadership. The Tracian Empire has refused formal apology, announced the Council President. They consider the matter closed with a token payment of resources. The chamber remained silent as images of Hannah Park appeared on their screens. They do not understand us, said an elderly representative from Kenya. Throughout our history on Earth, nothing has united humans more swiftly than a threat to our children. In the park's quarters on Epsilon 9, Hannah's parents sat surrounded by their daughter's belongings. A communication screen activated, showing Admiral Lee. Dr. Park, he said gently. I wish we were meeting under different circumstances. Who are you? Dr. G.A. Park asked, her voice hollow from grief. I command Earth's response fleet. I wanted to speak with you before we depart. Dr. Teho Park looked up sharply. Response fleet? What are you planning? Admiral Lee's expression remained calm. Justice for your daughter. But I need to know, what would Hannah want? Would she want vengeance? G.A. reached for a notebook on the table, opening it to Hannah's drawings. Colorful pictures of humans and aliens living together. She loved everyone, G.A. whispered. But she also believed in fairness. Then we will be fair, Admiral Lee promised. Precise. Just. But the galaxy must understand that humanity will not stand idle when our children are harmed. As the communication ended, the Parks looked at each other in confusion. Earth had never shown military strength in space. What response could they possibly mount against an empire spanning dozens of systems? In the Tracian Imperial Palace, advisors assured their leader that the human reaction was mere diplomatic posturing. Their intelligence indicated Earth possessed no significant military capability. Their vessels are simple, their weapons primitive, the defense minister reported. They focus on trade and cultural exchange because they lack the capacity for anything else. The emperor nodded, dismissing the matter from his mind. The death was unfortunate but hardly warranted further attention from the ruler of 37 star systems. That night, automated sensor stations at the edge of Trajan space detected unusual energy signatures. The readings were dismissed as equipment malfunctions. By morning, the Guardian fleet had arrived, having crossed in hours distances that should have required days. Admiral Lee stood on the bridge of the flagship Protector, looking at the tactical display of Trajan territory. "Send the message," he ordered. Throughout Trajan space, communications systems simultaneously received the same transmission, a human child's drawing, followed by 3 words. "We have arrived." The Trajan border defense network was the pride of their military, a web of automated stations, sensor arrays, and patrol vessels that had never been breached in its 3 centuries of operation. Commanders boasted that not even light could pass through undetected. So when alarms blared in the central monitoring facility, showing multiple large vessels already well within the border, the duty officer assumed it must be a system malfunction. It was not. The Guardian fleet had arrived, having somehow bypassed the entire defense grid without triggering a single sensor. 30 human vessels, each larger than anything Earth had previously revealed to the galactic community, held position just beyond weapons range of the nearest Trajan military outpost. "Impossible," whispered Commander Rack, the station's senior officer, as he studied the visual confirmation. The ships bore Earth markings but shared little resemblance to known human designs. Their hulls gleamed with an unusual material that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "How did they get past our defenses?" "Unknown, sir," replied his sensor technician. "According to our records, they simply appeared." On the bridge of the Earth flagship Protector, Admiral Minho Lee stood with perfect posture, hands clasped behind his back as he surveyed the tactical display. Beside him, Commander Sujin monitored communications. "The Trajan outpost is hailing us, Admiral." Lee nodded. On screen, Commander Rack's face appeared, his scales shifting color with barely contained alarm. "Unidentified Earth vessels, you have illegally entered Trajan space. Identify yourselves and state your purpose immediately." Admiral Lee allowed himself a small smile. "There is nothing unidentified about us, Commander. I am Admiral Minho Lee of Earth's Guardian Fleet. As for our purpose, we are here about a child." The Trajan commander blinked in confusion. "A child?" "Hannah Park. Age 8. Killed by your security forces on Epsilon 9. Rack's scales flushed a deeper color. "That incident has been resolved according to proper diplomatic channels. A suitable payment was—" "You misunderstand," Lee interrupted, his voice remaining calm. "We are not here to negotiate compensation. We are here to inform your empire that humanity considers the death of Hannah Park an unacceptable breach of trust between our species." Across the Trajan Empire, communication networks suddenly activated simultaneously. On every screen, public and private alike, appeared the image of a smiling human child, followed by footage from Epsilon 9, the moment of confusion, the weapons fire, the small body falling. In the Imperial Palace, the Emperor himself watched in stunned silence as every communication device in the throne room activated without command. Admiral Lee's voice emerged from all speakers: "Your empire took a child from us. We do not wish to take children from you. But we will have justice." The message repeated in every home, ship, and facility throughout Trajan space. In the Galactic Council chambers, an emergency session had been called. Representatives from 200 species gathered to discuss the sudden appearance of Earth's previously unknown military power. The human delegates sat calmly amid the chaos, saying little as accusations of deception flew around the chamber. Finally, the ancient Varan representative rose to speak. Her species had been among the first to achieve interstellar travel, and her personal memories stretched back 900 years. "I warned this council long ago," she said, her translucent form glowing with emotion. "When humans first came to us, I studied their history. No species has ever fought itself so brutally, brought itself so close to extinction so many times, yet survived and continued to advance? The chamber fell silent as she continued. They did not hide their strength from malice, but from wisdom. They know what they are capable of. They have always watched us, studied us, prepared for this possibility while hoping it would never come. At the Tracian military outpost facing the Guardian fleet, Commander Rack received orders from the Imperial High Command: maintain position but prepare defense systems. Do not fire unless fired upon. They're just trying to intimidate us, his second officer suggested. They can't possibly. The officer never finished his sentence. Without warning, every system on the outpost suddenly went dark. Emergency lighting flickered on as backup power engaged, but weapons, shields, and communications remained dead. A single human shuttle approached the now defenseless station. Inside, a communication screen activated, showing Admiral Lee's face. "This is a demonstration," he said simply. "We could have destroyed your outpost. Instead, we temporarily disabled its systems. Your personnel are unharmed. In exactly 1 hour, your systems will reactivate." The shuttle turned and returned to the Protector. Throughout Tracian space, military commanders frantically reported similar incidents: key defensive positions neutralized without a shot fired, with precise timing that suggested a coordinated attack far beyond their strategic capabilities. In the Imperial Palace, the defense minister looked at his emperor with undisguised fear. They could have eliminated our entire defensive network in a single stroke. Instead, they demonstrated they could, and chose not to. On Earth, ordinary citizens watched news reports about the Guardian fleet with mixed emotions of surprise, pride, and concern. Most had never known such military power existed, hidden beneath oceans and behind the moon. An elderly teacher, showing the news to her class of children, explained it simply: sometimes, the strongest people are the ones who hope never to use their strength. The Tracian emperor stood in his war room, surrounded by military advisors whose confidence had begun to crack. The holographic display showed the impossible: 300 Tracian vessels had been neutralized in less than an hour, their systems disabled with surgical precision, crews left unharmed but helpless in the void. "How is this possible?" the emperor demanded, his iridescent scales flaring with anger. "You assured me they were nothing merchants playing at diplomacy." "The humans have deceived the entire galaxy," the defense minister replied, his voice shaking. "Those ships, they're unlike anything we've encountered. Our weapons barely register on their shields." Outside the palace windows, the citizens of the Tracian homeworld looked up to see unfamiliar shapes entering the atmosphere: massive vessels that moved without sound, defying gravity with casual ease. The Guardian fleet had arrived. On the flagship Protector, Admiral Minho Lee watched the tactical display with the same calm expression he had maintained throughout the conflict. When the Tracian armada had launched its preemptive strike, hoping to eliminate the human threat with overwhelming numbers, he had not shown anger or surprise. He had simply given the order: demonstrate our capabilities. Minimal casualties. The human vessels had moved with impossible speed and coordination. Where Tracian ships fired, the human vessels were no longer present. Their defense systems absorbed energy blasts that should have atomized conventional hulls. Their countermeasures disabled Tracian systems with precise electromagnetic pulses, leaving ships intact but powerless. "Admiral," Commander Sujin reported, "the Tracian flagship is requesting communication." Lee nodded. On screen, the Emperor's face appeared, his usual imperial composure strained. "Who are you people? What technology is this?" "We are exactly who we have always been," Admiral Lee replied calmly. "The only difference is that now you see what we hoped we would never need to reveal." On Earth, citizens watched broadcasts of the confrontation with mixed emotions. For most, this was the first they had learned of the Guardian fleet's existence. Some felt pride in their planet's hidden strength, others worried what this revelation would mean for humanity's place in the galaxy. In a quiet hospice room, an elderly woman named Hanna, one of Earth's first xenobiologists and the namesake of the fallen child, watched the news with tears in her eyes. "We went to the stars hoping to leave war behind," she whispered to her caretaker. "Now we bring our old ghosts with us." Back in Tracian space, a small human shuttle detached from the Protector and approached the Imperial Palace. Inside, Dr. Taeho Park and Dr. Ga Park sat silently, surrounded by an honor guard of Guardian fleet officers. They carried with them their daughter's notebook and a formal document outlining Earth's terms. The palace landing pad was surrounded by Tracian officials, their postures showing submission rather than the usual imperial arrogance. The human shuttle settled gently on the platform, its engines humming with technology centuries beyond Tracian understanding. As the Park stepped onto Tracian soil, the sky above brightened momentarily. In orbit, a human vessel had just intercepted and neutralized a desperate last attack, a stealth missile aimed at the human delegation. "Your final defense line has been disabled," Admiral Lee's voice announced over all Tracian communication systems. "We could have destroyed your entire fleet. Instead, we disabled it. We could have bombarded your worlds. Instead, we came in peace, asking only for justice." In the Imperial throne room, the Parks stood before the Emperor. Ga stepped forward, her grief giving her strength no diplomat could match. "You took our daughter," she said simply, placing Hannah's notebook on the ceremonial table between them. "Not intentionally, perhaps, but through arrogance and indifference. We don't want vengeance. We want to ensure no other child, human or Tracian, dies this way again." The Emperor looked at the notebook, then at the small hollow projector Dr. Park activated. An image of Hannah appeared, laughing as she drew pictures of stars. "What are your terms?" the Emperor asked quietly. Across the galaxy, other species watched in stunned silence as news spread of the confrontation's outcome. The humans, whom many had dismissed as minor players in galactic politics, had revealed technology that could have made them conquerors. Yet they had used it with restraint, disabling rather than destroying, seeking justice rather than dominance. In the Galactic Council chamber, emergency sessions continued as representatives debated what this meant for the balance of power. The human delegates remained calm, explaining that Earth had always preferred peace but would never again allow its children to be harmed with impunity. "Today, the galaxy learned," said the Earth representative, "that our patience should not be mistaken for weakness, nor our preference for peace taken as inability to defend what we love." The treaty signing ceremony took place on neutral ground, a small, uninhabited moon orbiting a gas giant. Representatives from 27 species gathered under a transparent dome, watching as the Tracian Emperor and the Earth Council President approached the central table. Between them stood a small holographic projection of Hannah Park, her smile frozen in time. The document they signed would later be known as the Hannah Accords. Its terms were surprisingly gentle, given Earth's overwhelming show of force. The Tracian officials directly responsible for the child's death would face justice. The Empire would establish educational and cultural exchange programs to prevent similar misunderstandings. Most importantly, a new galactic children's protection protocol would ensure that all species recognized the universal importance of safeguarding the young, regardless of biology or culture. In the observation gallery, Dr. Taeho Park and Dr. Ga Park watched silently, hands clasped together. They had refused the status of diplomats or representatives, insisting they were simply parents seeking meaning in their daughter's death. As the ceremony concluded, a Tracian choir performed a traditional morning song, their crystalline voices creating harmonies impossible for human vocal cords. The Parks closed their eyes, tears streaming down their faces at this unexpected gesture of respect. Outside the dome, Earth's Guardian fleet maintained its vigilant presence. The vessels that had shocked the galaxy with their advanced technology now served as silent reminders of humanity's hidden strength. Admiral Minho Lee stood on the bridge of the Protector, watching the ceremony through a visual feed. "Deactivation protocols, Admiral?" asked Commander Sujin. Lee shook his head. "No. The fleet remains active. The galaxy now knows what we can do. There's no returning to the shadows." On 100 worlds, beings of all forms tried to process what the human revelation meant for galactic politics. Species that had dismissed Earth as a minor power now frantically reassessed their intelligence. Historians reviewed human history, finding clues they had missed. A species that had nearly destroyed itself multiple times had learned the value of peace, but never forgotten how to fight. In the Galactic Council chambers, emergency sessions continued. The Varan representative, oldest of the spacefaring races, addressed the gathering. We misunderstood humans fundamentally, she said, her translucent appendages glowing with emotion. We saw their reluctance to display military power as weakness. In truth, it was wisdom. They prepared for war while working for peace, hoping they would never need their weapons but ready if they did. On Epsilon 9, the colony where it had all begun, construction started on a memorial garden. Plants from Earth and 100 alien worlds would grow together in harmony, surrounding a small statue of a child with a notebook. Colonists and visitors placed tokens beneath the statue: drawings, poems, small objects meaningful to their cultures. 1 week after the treaty signing, Admiral Lee visited the Parks in their temporary quarters on Earth. He brought with him a small wooden box. This was recovered from the Tracian security archives, he said, opening it to reveal Hannah's notebook, the one she had offered to the Tracian leader moments before her death. Ga took it with trembling hands, opening to the final drawing, simple figures of different shapes and colors, holding hands beneath stars. We've been asked to establish a permanent diplomatic post, Tejo said quietly. The Galactic Council wants us to help implement the Children's Protection Protocol. Admiral Lee nodded. Will you accept? Yes, Ga answered, still looking at her daughter's drawing. It's what Hannah would have wanted. 3 months later, in the newly established Hannah Park Memorial Academy on the Galactic Council homeworld, children of 17 species played together in carefully designed common areas. Each had been chosen as a junior ambassador, part of the first generation that would grow up under the new protocols. A young Tracian child, scales still soft with youth, approached a human boy who sat alone. Is it true your people could have destroyed our worlds but chose not to? The Tracian asked. The human boy looked up from his drawing. My parents say that's not what matters. What matters is that we all learn to talk before we fight. Across the galaxy, the Guardian fleet dispersed, with vessels taking up positions near human settlements. They no longer hid their capabilities, but neither did they flaunt them. Earth opened limited technological exchanges, sharing some of its advancements while keeping others in reserve. Admiral Lee, now appointed to the newly created position of Earth Defense Coordinator, gave his first address to the Galactic Council. Humanity came to the stars hoping for peace, he said, his voice carrying to representatives of 100 worlds. That hope remains unchanged. But now you understand what we have always known. That peace must sometimes be protected with strength, and that there is nothing we will defend more fiercely than our children. As he finished speaking, the lights dimmed, and thousands of small illuminated paper boats, a traditional Earth memorial, floated through the chamber, each carrying the name of a child from some world who had died in conflict. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest strength was not in its hidden fleet, but in its capacity to balance preparation for war with the constant pursuit of peace.